Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome back to How to CAD Almost Anything IAP 2026 edition. It is a pleasure to be back with all of you because it's been a long time and doing CAD is one of my favorite things. So it's great to be back doing all of these videos again. This year we'll be tackling Autodesk Inventor. This is a new software, and as you may remember, we've already done SolidWorks, we've done Fusion 360, we've done Onshape, and we've done Siemens NX. So being able to do Autodesk Inventor is going to be a lot of fun, just to try to not only discover its very cool functionalities, and I'll be speaking about them in just a little bit, but also to really point out the differences that exist among all of the other softwares that we've done. Really, as you know, the purpose of this class is to CAD almost anything, but it's really to think about the design process itself. Say I give you an object as the tambourine or the X-Wing fighter or the Playmobil minifigure. Well, the idea is to think how we can go about that design process. What are the different tools that we can use to achieve our desired outcome? How do we design, say, the arms of the minifig? How perhaps can we reverse engineer a design with very little information but a picture? And that's the whole point of what we'll be doing in here, just trying to make super realistic looking designs with very little information available to us. So that's how to CAD. This year, it's a particularly interesting one because I'm not alone. I'll be joined by Molly. She'll be introducing herself, hopefully, in future sessions. But that's because Molly is an expert on virtual reality. And we're not going to only learn how to CAD, that's the part that I'm going to be focusing on, but also learning how to take our CAD objects and putting them on a VR environment. Say you put on goggles and you're interacting, say, with that tambourine or the Playmobil figure in there. And I think that's going to be pretty cool because when you think about it, it's potentially the next natural step in the future of design. It's a paradigm shift because we've gone from blueprints into CAD, and I think there was a big change. Now we're gonna propose to go from CAD into VR. When you design an object and you put on the goggles, you get to visualize it, you get to interact with that object, and then iterate through all of the design process. So to potentially improve it, and maybe you recognize flaws in the design, maybe scaling differences, things that must be changed, so that then later on you're uber sure about what exactly you made, and then you can go into manufacture it and make it a reality. So that's gonna be how to CAD almost anything. As you can see already from this video, we're gonna do the same format that we did in already the last two sessions of how to CAD. So this past summer using the Disney themed how to CAD almost anything, and also IMP of last year, where we're doing asynchronous videos. And I think these are good because I get to first record all of the information that I want you to know, all of the different inventor commands, and just going over in great detail the different demos. And then in person, we will obviously record the videos as well. We will repeat everything that I said in the asynchronous videos, but at least I'll be already, not only I will already have had some practice making these objects, but it's really repetition and exposure to the exact same stuff at least twice. And that's the best way to learn something, by doing it over and over again. So every session there's going to be six. I'll get into that in a minute. But they're going to at least have two videos each one of them. At least, because some of them might have three, and we'll see why later. And this is, before I go into the next slide, maybe something I'll mention about this one, which tends to be always my favorite slide, because it has a showcase of most of the projects that we'll be working on. Starting today, actually on session one, with the classic iPod. This is a first generation iPod and the classic iPod charger. So these two are not difficult to make per se as objects, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how can we go about the design process on all of them. And then we're going to continue on the following session, using the spline tool, bringing pictures, trying to trace it, and that's when we'll do the MIT banner. And then we're going to continue by making the tambourine, exploiting geometries. We'll make the Taipei 101 building. Then we'll go a little bit more into surface modeling, and that's where the PlayStation controller is going to come into play. I think this is going to be a fun CAD project. And obviously, one of the bonus projects that we'll be working on is the X-Wing fighter. Honestly, this model doesn't look too bad. I think it's going to be fun to make it. It will probably take a while, as I always say, at least 2-3 hours, but definitely doable with the stuff I will be learning out for the next few weeks. And even though I'm a Lego person and there's always a Lego project, this year we'll actually design a Playmobil figure because I think it's going to be fun. I will put like a little MIT banner in there. And of course, to wrap up the project and to go over one of my favorite commands, which is configurations, which is essentially you make an object and you can make multiple configurations on the same thing. We'll design an airplane seat. And that would allow you to say potentially design one seat and make multiple configurations that might be, say, a little bit wider, a little bit taller, or one seat, two seats, three seats. So you have like multiple literally seating configurations. So you can make a mock-up airplane cabin. Yeah, so let's get started a little bit with today's agenda. So we'll go over a little bit why CAD, why VR, some of the reasons that you provided in here. By the way, yes, this is it for students that will be in MIT IAP this 2026. However, obviously this is open to everybody. So I'm just mentioning here the reasons of people that are officially enrolled in the class. Then we'll go over some of the logistics and some of our meeting times, and we'll go straight into Inventor, right away, starting with the CAD. Yeah, so this is me. You know me, I'm Andy. Here are some fun facts. And yeah, so why CAD? What are some of the reasons that you said you wanted to come and take this class? Well, learning new skills, making 3D printing models, getting hands-on with Unity, so that's going to be more on the VR part, making a trumpet, obviously that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think we'll get to make a trumpet, but I do have a video making a trumpet. Develop true fluency in CAD design. I definitely agree. And creative approach to CAD. Yeah, these are all great reasons, and we are going to cover all of them in great detail. It's essentially throughout this class, we hope to give you the fundamentals, at least using Inventor as our case study software. Hopefully, you'll be able to take these skills and use them on any CAD software. But really, the fundamentals of how to think, how to leverage design thinking to make any sort of CAD object that you want. And there's a lot of creativity that's going to be involved, and we'll see that hopefully today and over the next couple of sessions as we start to play around with like the realm of what's possible on these softwares. Then, yeah, why Inventor? Well, I think it's a pretty cool software. I've been using it already quite a bit. Super nice. It's not that different from SolidWorks. There are some differences, but it's super beautiful, to be honest. A lot of functionalities. It's definitely used in industry, so it's good to know. Very importantly, it's free for students and educators. And that goes hand in hand with the mission of this class, which is to democratize access to CAD education. I mean, it's great to teach about CAD, say like we do with SolidWorks, and SolidWorks is one of my favorite softwares, but access to SolidWorks is extremely expensive, so it restricts who can use it. Meanwhile, this one is completely free. If you're a student, you have an at something.edu kind of email. So that's definitely an advantage. And obviously, it's good to continue adding CAD softwares into our portfolio. There's quite a few of them, but by the end of this class series, we will have covered already 5 softwares in the How to CAD like open courseware series. So I think that's great because it's pretty robust perspective, and the fact that it's always the same guy doing all of these videos at least gives you like a pretty consistent depiction of how we go through all of them. Yes, and I'll be pointing out also the differences that I see, namely with SolidWorks. Yeah, so that being said, welcome officially to How to CAD Almost Anything, IAP 2026. So these are some of the things that we'll be doing throughout the next 3 weeks. Well, this video is coming in December, but this is gonna start happening in January of next year. But we'll be looking at 6 sessions as always, 2 per week. And so we'll start today, session 1, asynchronous video with some of the basic commands that you'll find in Inventor. And some of the projects that we'll be covering include, well, today the iPods, as I was saying, but then we'll do pretty complicated things, say like the tambourine, the Type A 101, we're leveraging a little bit of symmetry, then the PlayStation controller and a banana, because a banana is a pretty classic one. Then on week 3, we're looking to making Lego bricks. I think that's pretty pedagogical to learn how to make assemblies. So when designing a brick itself is not too difficult. We could design a brick definitely with the skills that we learned this week 1, even today. It's just that on week 3 we'll use it to make assemblies and even build a bridge. And that's when we'll also do the Playmobil. And then session 6 is going to be the most fun one when we make the airplane seat, the airplane economy seat. I would say there's a bonus session after session 4. That's when we'll do the X-Wing fighter and a can of Coke, another tradition in the How to CAD series. And there's another bonus session on after session 2, where that one I will keep a surprise, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so these are essentially the projects all listed in the syllabus, which is right here. Any questions that you have will be probably answered right here. The syllabus, as all of these videos go on YouTube, they're publicly accessible. but the syllabus alongside all of the objects that we design will be available on the GitHub site that has all of the contents. It's like nicely structured, so you can follow through in there if you want more details. But the way this is going to work is that we'll meet twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 to around 5 p.m., potentially more, depending on how much how much willing are you to listen to my voice for 2 hours straight in the asynchronous videos, even more. Yeah, so that's when we'll go over, in person of these commands. We'll be in the GIS and Data Lab. That's open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m. There are 16 computers, which one I'll be using myself. But you can download for free Inventor in any Windows computer. So that's something important to know if you happen to have your own computer. Um, Anything to mention from here is that yes, so every session, as I was mentioning, it's going to have two sets of videos. The asynchronous one, which is this one right here, and the in-person one. So fear not, you can be taking this class from anywhere in the world. You don't even have to be in person. You can follow through with these videos, and you're going to always reach out if you have any questions. So yeah, that being said, let's go into session one to start CADing the first generation iPod Classic and the first generation USB power adapter. So right here, we are in the main Inventor interface. So this is essentially what you're gonna see once you open the Inventor icon. Hopefully you get to this point. So before we actually go into making any of the projects that we have planned for today, perhaps it would be best if I introduce you to this software. If I show you a little bit of how the different commands work, what does the interface look like, how to navigate different parts of Inventor, at least the basic parts. And then as we do the projects, I'll be pointing out specific things that you have to do. We'll go slowly for each one of them. But say you get to this point, that's great. That's already a lot because I think you have to log in with some of your Autodesk information. But you're here, so you click here where it says new, and there's multiple options of things that we could select. For instance, part, which is the one that we will select in a moment, but we could do an assembly. That's when we'll go, I believe, in session 5, when we'll do the Lego brick assembly. That's essentially the module that we would select, or an engineering drawing, where you would take a part that you would design and give some dimensions and say, all right, this is where everything, oh, these are the different features, and you hand in that drawing to someone that then can manufacture it using some form of method. Today, we select part. So let's click right there. That's pretty quick. Normally it takes a little bit more time to load. And this is the main interface that you will see right here. It looks very pretty. I think I like the color scheme and everything. But a couple of housekeeping items before we jump into making anything. We'll go here to where it says Tools, where it says Application Options, and then all the way to Colors right here. And one thing that to me is very important is the color of the canvas, because I like it white the way it is right now, because then I can take screenshots and it has a blank background like this one. That's why it's called this one is the presentation one. However, if you want something fancier, you go to Sky or Winter Day. That's interesting. That is, I guess they associate winter with gray. I'll leave it in presentation. That's up to you, up to your own liking. And since we're here, we can go to where it says display, and we can scroll all the way down here and also change some of the settings of how to navigate the different things with your mouse. So if you're like me and you're coming from a SolidWorks background in particular, you'll be used to using your mouse. And let me show you right here, my mouse right there. And you're used to probably clicking on the ball and being able to orbit around. If you want to make that happen, then you go here to the middle mouse button, and that's where you would hit on orbit. That's something interesting. And by the way, since we're here, one thing I'll mention, which is related to my background picture, right there we go, right there, is that while all of the projects I will be working on are pretty random and they do not quite follow any thread, any theme, because, we want to expose you to a lot of things, how to CAD almost anything pretty much, but like every CAD class that we've taught in the past, there is like a inherent theme. For instance, Fusion 360, that was Dragon Ball. In Onshape, it was Mario Brothers. In Siemens NX, it was Pokemon. And then the last How to CAD series this past summer, it was all Disney. This year, as the house hints, there we go. It's The Simpsons. Some of the in-person projects will be related to that. Just a little fun fact item that I wanted to mention. Since we're here as well, I go here to document settings, and another very important thing to change is related to units. Right now, by default, this is what would appear. However, I'm gonna select millimeter and gram. I think it's just easier like that. So I click on OK. So then we go to this tab in here that's called Sketch. Maybe you've used CAD softwares before. If not, this is hopefully going to be your first time, and I hope it's a great first time. So I'll try to be pretty comprehensive with this explanation. But the way that most CAD softwares work is on a, say you're building things on a layer by layer case, where you start by making sketches. It's a sketch is essentially like taking a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, grabbing a pencil and just drawing out something that's going to be fully in 2D. For instance, making a sketch of a circle, a rectangle, a map of some form of layout. Then what you do with that 2D sketch is that you go to where it says 3D model, that tab. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And then you start giving that sketch volume. And I'm not kidding when I say this, that the core of most the CAD software designs is layer by layer. You're literally building a CAD cake. You do one layer, then you do another sketch, you build another layer, you build another sketch, you do another layer. The key to making these sketches is that it's always going to be on a plane that is going to be in 2D. So you'll see in a moment, once I click on Start 2D Sketch, it's going to prompt me to select a plane. But once you build something, say like a cube, I can select any of the sides of that cube as one of the planes from where I'm gonna build some sketches. You'll see that in just a second, but I just wanted to mention how some of those logistics. So I click here on Start 2D Sketch. As expected, we have three planes to choose from. Makes sense, we're in 3D. For instance, the XY plane. By the way, with the mouse, if I click on the ball, now I can rotate around. If you want to go back to that top view, I can click here on front. There we go, here in the top right corner. We look at it this again from the top. So this is the plane where we'll be working on right now. We're in our sketch, and there's a bunch of items, a bunch of things that we can do. We can start drawing. And today we will actually mostly focus on these things. Every once in a while, we might use some of these in here. In fact, once we start doing the iPod and the iPod charger, it's possible I will do this, even though I prefer to use, there's equivalent versions of these in the 3D modeling phase. I think it's a little best practice to do it there, even though it's okay if you do it here. But in other words, I get here on the triangle, and there's multiple options of things that we can do. But number of lines, different forms of defining circles or ellipses. You can do arches, all sorts of rectangles or slots or polygons. You name it, it's probably there. Right now, we're gonna start drawing lines. So I click in there, and you just draw a bunch of lines. I'm just clicking with my mouse, and I click escape if I want to escape that command. You see we have all of these lines in here. I can click in them, I can drag them around, I can click in that point, I can move that point like that, for instance. You can move that like that. Then I can say, oh, but I want that point to go down there. I think, what about here? You see, you can play around a lot. The common theme is that these lines, it's a hint. I like it that they do this. They look black in color, and it's not in purpose. I mean, it's not for any reason. It's actually in purpose because black indicates in a sketch that the line is underdefined. What does it mean for a line to be underdefined? Is that I can move. You see, I can move it around. I can change its position, and that's a problem because the number one rule, if you have to take anything away from today's session, is that any sketch that you do, you want to always fully define it. And I'll explain what that means and how you do get to that. The reason for that is because if then my boss comes, you're an engineer at a design firm, my boss comes and he goes, or she goes, Andy, that particular dimension that you added is not correct. The client came, we have to change it to 300 millimeters instead of 200 millimeters. Now you have to do it. So a very easy way to do it without your design exploding is if everything was fully defined from the first place. In other words, everything had nice dimensions and everything knew where it was relative to that point. This yellow point right there, that represents the origin. And every design that we do, we want to dimension it with respect to that point. Otherwise, it doesn't know where it is in space. And I'll explain why in just a second. Here, in this area right there, you have constraints. What do the constraints do? Well, they start to help you define these lines with regards to that point and these two axes. For instance, I can click in this line and then on that line in there, and now this line is parallel to that one. So what that means, oh yeah, cancel. Let me click escape. There we go. Is that I can still move that point and that point and where this line is in space. It's just constrained to always be parallel. That's it. I can move it around. It's always parallel. I can do the same thing here. I can click on this line and make it parallel now to that, and still move it around. I could click on here where it says dimension or in the letter D in my keyboard and give some dimension. So I can make that 200. I can click also, and for instance, I can click on, say, that line, control that line. So that's how you would select two lines at the same time. I can make these two perpendicular. So let me just move things around. There we go. Perfect. So I can go here to D. I can click on one line, click on another line, make that 200. Oh, it's a big angle. Let's say 60 instead. There we go. And I can do the same thing here. I go to D. I can make that angle be 150. Let's see what happens. Okay. I mean, it's doing something. It's interesting. But you see that all of these lines are still black. How do you fully define a line? Well, let's first start by referencing this with respect to the origin. One way you could do this is, say, by selecting that point, control this point, and saying that you want them to be coincident. See how suddenly that line became fully blue, because that line is always restricted to lie along that line, always restricted to be parallel to that line, and it has a dimension, it has a pretty defined length, and that point is always there. So that line is going to be fully, this line here is still not fully defined because I could, you see, move it around. However, if I click on D and I give that 200, now it's fully defined because it has some length. So then let's do that in here. I'm going to add some length in there. By the way, I haven't figured out this myself, but so far I'm only able to give dimensions on the XY dimension. So I cannot really quite give a dimension that is, say, on the radial side, along the direction of that line, which is fine. I mean, you can do algebra and you can figure out what the math has to be with the angle and one of the X or Y dimensions. Just something to bear in mind if you're, say, designing something that is based off from an engineering drawing. So I'm gonna do the same thing in here and give that 100. So you see how now at least all of these lines are fully defined. So this one right here, let's do a pop quiz. That point is constrained to always be there. These two are perpendicular because you can, if you click, you see how that little icon appears. So what's the only dimension that hasn't been defined? Well, we can be like Dora the Explorer. I can wait for 5 seconds until you tell me the answer, even though I wouldn't hear it, or I can just tell you. And it's this one. If I get on that point, I can still drag it around. That's the only dimension that is not defined. So I click here in D, I'm going to say that's 200. If you don't like the dimensions that you, oh, actually, by the way, this looks like a geometric version of Texas, maybe flipped around. It's kind of funny. But if you don't like the dimension, I can always right click in this line and here say, I think there's one where I say, all right, delete constraints. You could do that too. For instance, I can say delete those constraints. So now you see that I can move this around and I can make this, oh, I didn't want it to be 90 degrees. I want that to be 100. And now it's fully defined again. So these are all lines. However, this sketch has all lines that are not all fully connected. They don't make, I mean, they're all fully connected, but they don't make an enclosed polygon. And why do we want an enclosed polygon? Is because if I grab this line and I draw this line right there, well, now we can bring this to life. We can give this 3D volume. And the way to do that is if you go here to 3D model, you go to extrude, and now our geometric, maybe it's like Pac-Man, I'm not sure, maybe it's like Texas flipped around, it's a bunch of things. And go here and say, I want that to be 50. So now the power of defining things is that the boss comes and he goes, Andy, change the dimensions. So I click in here in this area right here to the left, that's called the feature tree. That's where all of the different things that we add to our design appear. So I go to that plus icon, right click in sketch one, I click on edit sketch, and I can say, all right, that has to be 300. And when I'm happy, you click in finish. If you don't, and you see it automatically without breaking up, it adjusts. And I like it that it does that. So that's pretty cool. That's one way to do that. You can also do that with the extrusion. I can go here to right click, edit feature. That's a feature. And I can say that I want that to be actually 100. Now there's multiple ways. I can say 100. I can say that I want it to go on the opposite direction. I can say that I want it to be symmetrical, which means I have like a line that is in the middle and I want 50 on each side. I can make it asymmetrical, up to you. I'll say symmetric, just on that direction, 100 for simplicity. So now we have our extrusion. It looks pretty cool. A couple of things that I want to point out is that if we go here to the 3D model area, there's today I will only focus on this one and that one, fillet and chamfer. I think these two are pretty cool. And then as we go throughout the different sessions, we'll look at some of these as well. But fillet, what it allows you to do is say, let me select that edge and let's round it off. That way it doesn't look too sharp. In fact, let's make that 5. And I can edit the feature again and either change that to 10 or right click, edit feature, and I can, let me go, I can add more edges. I can do it for multiple ones like that. Very good. And I say, okay, even though when you go to fillet, right, there's multiple ways that it allows you to select. I could have said, for instance, I can right click here and I go to this one, which is select like loops. I can go to like that, and it's like an easy way to select everything at the same time. So I can say, all right, do that. Okay, that's good. And then we have like a fully, so it looks a lot prettier that way. Similar to that is chamfer. Chamfer, it's essentially like a sharp, instead of a sharp edge, it looks a little bit cut. Let's see what the effect would be here. Actually, I don't think it's gonna allow us. I might delete this to show you better. I'm gonna go here to chamfer. Let's see. There we go. So it's essentially as if it removed the sharp edge and it makes something that it has like a flat face like that. It looks kind of pretty when you do it that way. So yeah, so that is just some basics on how you do those two commands. Then we'll focus today mostly on extrude, even though later on we'll look at revolve, sweep. Those are things that will come up later on in other sessions. As I was saying, this process is about building layers. So I can start doing even more sketches. That these sketches could either be in the same planes that we started on, the XY, the XZ, the YZ, or we can select any of these flat faces as our working plane. So I go here to start 2D sketch, and it will prompt us again to select our new working plane. I could go here to where it says origin, to the plus icon, and select these are our original planes. So we were on this one before, or I want to select actually that one. So now our new working plane is this area. Now the engineers came, they told me they want a hole that is going to be 5 millimeters from that edge and 5 millimeters from that edge. How do you do that? Not too difficult. I'm gonna come here to assess line and I'm gonna draw two random lines like this. These lines right here are really positioning lines because what I really want to use them for is to identify that point. That point is where we are gonna now grab the circle and draw the circle that eventually will become the hole. Now, the thing is that there is a distinction between lines like this that are solid black lines and dashed lines. Dashed lines, which I'll show you in just a moment, they refer to construction lines or reference lines. In other words, if I right click here, make that a construction, I right click there, I make that a construction line. You see how they become dashed line? They're orange because they're not fully defined. But these lines are like invisible. In other words, when I come then to 3D model and I want to extrude that to make a hole, um, they won't detect these two dashed lines, they will only detect that hole. So now, okay, I'm gonna click on that line, control that edge right here, and I'm gonna make this perpendicular. I'll click on that line, I'll click on that one, and make that perpendicular. Oh, let me do that again. Uh, there we go, perfect. escape. And then I'm gonna click in here, control that line, we'll make those equal. Then letter D, I'll make that 50. And I can go to my circle, I'll make that 50 as well. So now everything is blue. Everything is fully defined right now. So we have our circle and we've used these construction lines. I will use them a lot. These are the key to everything, just to like reference where things are in space. So now we got our circle placed where we want to place it, and we go here to 3D model, extrude. Now, yes, I could extrude, I could give it volume, or you could come to this little icon right there and make a cut. So right here, the default option is that one, which is a cut up to a certain length. For instance, like I say, I want a cut of 50. And I clicked enter, that's why it just disappears. So I can go back there, edit feature. You see it's a hole of 50 millimeters. But what if I wanted the hole to only go up to that face? Well, I can say this command right here up to that face. So it's only gonna do a hole that goes all the way up to there, kind of cool. Or even better, I can say go through all faces. So now you have a nice looking, now it's starting to look like a bracket. Maybe like one of those brackets that support jet engines on aircraft. So it's pretty cool. And then I can even come back to fillet in here, select that edge, actually every edge, and make those round. Okay, looks kind of pretty. And I can go back to extrusion 2, right click there, edit sketch. And if I wanted to change that to be, I say the position, actually I don't want to change that position, but I wanted to make the hole smaller. Okay, finish. Everything automatically adjusts. That's the power of fully defining things. Is I can, when we do the configurations later on, the airplane seat, it only works because because you've done your due diligence in making sure that everything is fully referenced and defined. So that's where we're standing right now with all of these holes. Maybe let's add a couple more things, let's add more features. So I'll go here to this sketch. Now suppose that I wanted a little pentagon or some nice polygon in there. So I'm gonna do a line, and if I click in that icon right there, every single thing that I draw will be a reference line. So I can draw, I always like drawing a line that bisects a face. You see it's all fully defined. And I'm gonna select, actually I can go here to rectangle. I could do a rectangle, we do a lot of rectangles. Or I could go here to polygon and say, all right, I want a 12-sided polygon. It's gonna be centered in that point. So green, it identifies that's the middle of that line. And I'm gonna draw a polygon like that. You see, because I didn't uncheck that construction line, that's why it looks like a reference polygon. I'm gonna select all of those guys and click in there. Now it's all fully dashed. Still black because I haven't fully defined this. So I can click on that line, control that line, and make them parallel. Good. It's a good start. And now I'm gonna make a construction polygon like that, another line, and I can say that I want that to be 40, and voila, that is parallel, and the inner diameter is 40, so now it's fully defined. So I can go here to 3D model, extrude, and I'm rotating using the ball of the mouse, and let's give that 30. Okay, it has like some feature, right? Say if you want to like place it in some other structure, that could be like the slot, or that could be like the pin that you would use to do that. What else can we do from here? Let's do another sketch all the way there. Suppose now that I wanted to do a slot that goes like another slotted cut that goes through this piece. So here to line, I'm gonna make a reference line. That's why I click in there. I'm gonna click on a point, boom, another point, all the way like that. So it's 3 lines. I'm gonna make this line control that line equal. There we go. And then I'm gonna click on D. I'm gonna make that 50. The reason why I'm saying this is because now we go here to our friend polygon. I'll click on that slot right there, and I can now do that slot, which is divided by 2 points. So I can do that. So again, I forgot to unclick that area right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select those guys. I'll make it, there we go. Well, actually that line, I wanted as construction, very good. Did it? There we go. Now, yes, now what I need to do is define with letter D that distance and make that 20. Voila, that is good. So I'm gonna go here to extrude and I'm gonna do a cut that goes all the way through. Okay. So now it looks kind of weird because that fillet is like kind of in the way. So if I go here to edit feature, let's see whether I can uh, 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 we're gonna just define, reselect the edges that I want to use are gonna be just those three. There we go. That way it doesn't look that bad. And you have that nice slot. So then yes, I can go back to actually do chamfer this time. Okay. See how now it's not round, it's just flat. You have and like a nice looking piece, right? So you can imagine this is a bracket that you're machining, probably a 3D printed piece, but I think this would be very difficult to machine using conventional CNC machines. Yeah, so this is like pretty much the basics of how you do this, and there's a lot of other commands that I'll be explaining as we go. Perhaps the most important question that you're probably asking right now is, all right, this is all beautiful, but how do you color it? This looks dull, this looks gray. Well, I'm glad you asked in case you did, because the way you would do that is if you right click here in extrusion, you go to properties, you go to where it says feature appearance as body, you have a bunch of different items that you could say. I can cherry color this is cherry, and I click on OK. And see how the colors change. So this is a way to very easily change the color of an entire feature. So like an entire like thing. Then if I wanted to also change for those extrusions, I could say, all right, I wanted, let me do Control Z. I wanted those two. So I go here to properties. I'm gonna make it chrome polished, so those two change. But that is still, I mean, it's difficult to tell, but these are different grays. For instance, I can go to extrusion free, properties. Let's make that no gold. No, yeah, glossy gold. That's fine. See how it's actually changed the colors. So this is a way that you can change things on an overall feature. You can also say that, all right, I want just this face, that face right there. So you see how I clicked on this and that icon appears right there. I can click in there and create, literally put up finish. So I'm gonna say that I want that to be black. So that face in particular, or I could select, well, that was the chamfer, right? But I could select multiple faces with using the control command, say like that. So say suppose I only want these faces, and then I right click, I say repeat finish. There we go. Let's do maybe what's another kind of interesting metal that we could add in here, nickel. There you go. So actually change it on individual faces or individual features. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, like a very quick intro to the main Inventor interface. Now we're gonna start doing something useful with this. Alrighty, so now let's get started with the iPod. But before we do anything that is related to CAD, I think the best thing that we can do is look at some pictures. So we're gonna go here to Chrome, and I've already pre-selected a few that I think give us some perspectives of this object that we want to do. But in essence, it's nothing too fancy what we're looking to make right now. It's this object. It's pretty much a box, a little brick. We'll start most likely by doing a rectangle right here. Then we'll add another little rectangle in here. Then we'll do a circle like that. Then we're gonna try to model a few of these buttons. So there's way more precise ways of making this object that we're not gonna employ today, but it will make it look a lot prettier. But I'm just saying that there's way better ways to do this. Today it's just we're gonna take it easy, but at least all of these details will certainly be noticeable. So we're gonna make all of these through a sketch. And then we look at the side, but essentially we're gonna eyeball most of these dimensions. So nothing too fancy. Um, I think this is probably the nicest picture that we're gonna use for all of this stuff right here. So let's go here to our friend Inventor. Let's go here to Sketch, Start. I'm gonna choose the XY plane. And this is the time where if we go to where it says polygon, I'll do the center rectangle because I'm gonna choose the origin. And I'm gonna do a rectangle like this. You see one thing that I'm gonna point out right now, document settings, units. I just opened a new part, but I didn't remember that I wanted to do it in millimeters. I'm just gonna change that right away. So if we are here at our sketch and I go here to D, it automatically changes those dimensions. That is too big, even though I really don't care about the specific dimensions themselves. It's more about trying to get, yeah, that looks about right. Maybe a little bit taller, something like that. Okay, so 3D model, extrude, and maybe we're gonna extrude it by what, like 100. By the way, this exercise would be a lot easier if we looked at the actual dimensions of this thing. However, that's not fun. What we want to do is just try to eyeball as much as we can of this thing. This is what we call the how to CAD version of the iPhone. Okay, that looks pretty decent. I'm not sure whether we might need, when I right click here on sketch one, edit. I'm gonna modify that to be 750. That was just slightly less. And exit. Very good. Oh, where we go? I accidentally clicked on stop sharing, but that's why we're here. Okay, so now that we're seeing again our screen, so I'm gonna do another sketch, this time on this face, right here. And perhaps what I want to draw for now is two things. Roughly the orientation of that square and the orientation of that circle. So one way that we can go about that is by drawing a line. We're gonna do multiple construction lines, and you'll see what I mean in a second, because I want these 2 points that I'm drawing right now. So I'm gonna click on that point, control that point, I'll make that coincident, then that line and that line, I'll make it parallel. And then I'm gonna start putting some dimensions to this. Yeah, 400, whatever. I want that point to be the center of our rectangle. And oh, by the way, yeah, I want to make it a solid rectangle, otherwise this doesn't make sense. We go right there, and yeah, that seems about right. The question is, how big is a rectangle? And the height of our rectangle is going to be probably influenced by this distance right here. So if I make that 450, our rectangle changes. So we're gonna play around with that in a moment. But I want that circle, at least the exterior, that is obviously that's too small. We're gonna change it in a moment. But I want that distance. No, I want, let's see if there's a better way. Let me see. No. There we go. I'm gonna check that line. Uh, Maybe let me delete this line for a second. There we go. And I'm gonna make that a construction line. There we go. There we go. And I want that to be 50. That way, because it looked from the picture that the distance from here to here was about the same. So I want this to be symmetrical, right? So this is how you would go about doing that. Then maybe the origin of the circle might be at 200, but clearly, oh, that line is not constrained. I should have done that. Clicking that line, I'm gonna click in maybe that line and make these two parallel. There we go. Oh, I see. Let me make those two collinear. Where are you, collinear? Oh, actually, mm, there we go. Now, yes. Now, any change that I do on the circle is gonna be affected by that. So if I make that 200, there we go. So now everything changes. So that, so now I just have to play around with the dimensions of this thing. That is too big. Well, we said 300 were, no, let's say 375. And what about 225? I think the circle is roughly that size, while that guy, and then there's a separation of about 50 as well, I would say. So maybe, you know what, I will get rid of that line. I will get rid of that line too. And I'm gonna add another construction line. It's gonna go from here to there. I click on D. Let's make that 50. I want that line and that to be parallel. And now what that means is that, well, yes, I have to constrain, I'm gonna make a line that goes all the way there, and I can check on these two, and I want to make them parallel. There we go, just like that. Just another thing that we can do is can define the distance in here to be 225, no, 250. There we go. And yes, let's give that a dimension, 175. Okay, so now this is almost perfect. No, we need to make that 50 as well. That would say pretty uniform. So does this look, no, it looks that on the edges that maybe, yeah, I think that looks more legit. So all that I'm doing now is just laying out the area where, just kind of making a drawing of how this is supposed to look like. So we have that like that. Maybe let's make that two. Now that's a little bit too much. So let's say 270. Okay, okay. And this is gonna look much prettier, I promise. Then the middle circle, I go like that, and we're gonna make you 100. Good. So again, much easier techniques than this one. Or actually, there's gonna be more techniques that we're gonna see in the future to make this look prettier than the model I'm showing you right now. But this ain't too bad, and you will see why in just a moment. But all right, so suppose that we have that. So I'm gonna go to 3D model, and if we go here, see there's like a slight recess, right? So what we'll do is go here to extrude. I'm gonna go down, and we'll go down by 5, but just that amount. Then if you go here, you see there's like slightly very small fillets. So I can go here to 3D model, fillet. And again, you could have done the fillets on the actual sketch because there was a fillet constraint. But I'm just gonna click right there. Click right here. Click right here. Right here. And we're gonna say we want these to be 5. Good. Well, so that doesn't look too bad. But now, if we go here to actually extrusion 2, expand, I want to make this visible. I want to show these sketches. And the reason for that is because now I can go here to extrude. I can say, all right, I want to extrude now this area right here. And we're gonna, maybe this one will extrude it by 10. Actually, potentially more. Here, edit feature. We'll make that 20. Because now we go here to fillet. We say, boom. We want that to be 10. Just like that. Um, and what we'll do is go, actually, maybe that is too much. So, feature, I'll make that 15. Here we go. Yes, I'm more satisfied with that. Okay, it's not too bad. Again, this is a simplified version of our iPod. But the reality is that then another thing that we can do is that you have those, actually you have those little markings around it. We are gonna design that. It's actually not difficult at all. But the way that you would do that is you go here to sketch. We'll do sketch here on the top plane. And now, this is the first time that we're going to use this command. We go here to project geometry. Let me show you what that does. Let me select that circle. So essentially, that circle was the circumference of that circle in there. The project command, this is something that we're going to cover in a lot greater detail in the following session, on session 2. It just brings that sketch or that particular line of interest to the plane that we're working on right now, which is that face right there. So I'm gonna do the same thing with that, and you see how, voila, it's brought up just like that. So now what I can do is go here to offset. I can click on that line right there. I'm gonna say I want to offset that amount. Um, Maybe I think I can go. There we go. I can hide this stuff. It was starting to bother me a little bit, but I can say I want that offset to be maybe 2. Now it's minimal, right? And these lines, because they come from the previous sketch, they're all fully defined. So that's why that one is already all blue. The same thing, I'm gonna click in there, then click on D, and we're gonna make that too as well. Good. So now I'm gonna bring this line right here, and what I'll do is, actually, it doesn't matter where exactly we go, whether it's to the exterior, I can just go all the way like that, but I want to make that line a construction line. Then I'm gonna go here and say, all right, to make that angle be 45. And then, actually, it might be worth doing this using, well, it doesn't matter. But now we're gonna do this type of rectangle, 3-point rectangle, where I click on this point, I click on wherever the line ended right there, and I expand like that. So let me first start by, yeah, that doesn't matter. But that, this dimension right here has to be equal to 2. So, well, that's not exactly right. Yes, so this dimension here has to be equal to 2. So I'm gonna click in there and I say, all right, 2. However, because it's only allowing us to define it from that perspective, I can say, right, I want this to be equal to 2 over, let me see, 1.41. Let's see whether that works. Yes, it does. Okay. Yeah, so it's 1.41, dude. Okay, perfectly. So that's like the particular dimension where I want that to be the case. Very good. And you see that that's fully defined. So let's do the exact same exercise on the other side too. So we make a construction line that goes all the way from here. We are define that as 45. Good. I don't care. Some dimension, 50. You can also revolve this. You could pattern this, but here we're going very, very first principles, if you will, just so that we can really learn these commands. And oh, I wanted to make it without the construction, so let's do it again. And 1.14, 418. Yeah, okay, good. So now what we can do is do an extrude cut. So we're gonna create the model, extrude, cut. Now we have to select all of the different parts that we want to extrude. So it's that, it's gonna be that, it's gonna be, actually I should select that, but I don't want that. Let me okay, start again. Oh, let me do it one more time. Extrude, let's say, all right, 1, 2. All right, there we go. So let's start first by selecting the circles like this. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Very, very simple. 1, 2, 3. Do just like that. Okay. Okay. I think that's the one missing. Okay, good. And we're gonna make this go 16. So now it's like pretty obvious that these are all separate pieces. And I like it. It looks kind of realistic, which is the point of the overall making these demos. I'm gonna do one more circle, which is the one actually not even. I can go here to my original sketch, here visibility, and I can go here to project. I can project this in there. So now I go to 3D model, extrude, and yes, I'll select that face with the ball I'm turning around, and I'm gonna maybe go for 10 this particular case. And we are gonna go here to fillet, select, wait, fillet, we're gonna select that in there. However, it doesn't need to be constant radius. Like we can make it, let me, oh, we can say, let's see what happens we do 20. Oh, let me just select the feature. I like that. Okay, let me edit one more time. Oh, I see. No, I think I like it better this way. Cancel. No, I think that's too much. Okay, but I think that's decent. Maybe edit 60. Okay, we'll be like that. Okay, and now let's go back to our sketching here. Let's hide the visibility. That way we're stuck back with this. Um, Maybe I kind of liked it. with a smaller fillet. So I'm gonna, you see, that's the point of being able to define all of these things. There we go. I think that's much better. Okay, this is looking all right, but still nothing like this object right here. So let's start to make it look a little bit more like this. To add maybe like the menu button. Maybe let's take a look at another picture, right? So we have all of those little triangles. So menu, all that. Okay. So how big menu is actually the more difficult one? How do you do that? Well, we'll do here a sketch on that particular face, and we click in our friend right here. Where are you? That's called text, geometry text in particular. I'm gonna click in here. Oh, actually, before we do, yeah, I should probably, what I'm gonna do is go here to project geometry. I'm gonna project that line. Good. And now I'm gonna offset that line by some amount. I'm gonna make that a construction line. And we are gonna make that be 3 millimeters. So it's all uber precise. So now, yes, we go to geometry text. I can click in there and I'll say menu. Let's click OK. So what appears? Right. So you see the word menu appears on that line. But if I double click, I don't want it to be there. I can say, all right, go to the middle. So I say, OK. Oh, I see. I need to say start angle. I want you to start at, let's see, 45. Where do you bring me? It's roughly. Maybe we might need to play around a little bit with this. Let's see, 42. 42.5. No. 43.5. No. 44. Maybe 44.5. Okay. I like it like that. But let's make that a lot bigger. So I think the Homa is an okay font, but we can make that be 1. Let's change it there. Okay. Just a moment. All right, for some reason, the word menu was not behaving just a second ago. But in essence, you have to select this thing. So select that word, type, for instance, 0.75 in, and I click enter, and that's how it's gonna work. But I think, okay, that looks good. Maybe it's a little bit too big compared to the actual size. So what we can do is go here to our render line, maybe offset that by 0.5, then click on our menu, and let's make that be 0.5 instead. Very good, and I think that looks a lot more appropriate. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that like that as it is right now. But let's add those buttons right there. So it's a triangle, triangle, and a bar. That's not trivial. I don't think that's gonna be easy to do. But in essence, we go here. I'm just gonna draw, oh, draw that line. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna just, okay, it's roughly like that. And we're gonna, once we provide, oh, yeah, once we provide sufficient dimensions, this will be a walk in the park to modify. And we're gonna do it like this, okay, like that, okay, like that, like that, like that. Good. So let's say, all right, that distance in here to be two, to be two. I want this to be two. Maybe it might be worth another construction line right here. That's gonna be perpendicular to there. Another line. So we're gonna make that parallel. Oh, I'm gonna make these two. Yeah, I think that's fine. We're gonna make these two no, actually no. But we do need another line that was gonna go right here. And that are gonna be perpendicular too. There we go. And that, we're gonna make that collinear. There we go. So that means that they're all lying on the same axis. Good. So this line and that line, we're gonna make that equal. Actually, it doesn't. Okay, so it seems that this is all mostly. Let's see what happens. So that is an 8. Okay. Uh. Oh, I see. So it's this distance, the one we have to define. Let's make that the one. Let's see. What are some other dimensions? Oh, of course. We need to make this point and that point right there coincident. Let's see. Now, yes. So now that became fully blue. Now, the key behind this is that I'm gonna, even though I said I wouldn't, I think this is a convenient place where you should, is that you could go and select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and go to my friend mirror. Where are you, mirror? Yeah, so I think I selected. Let me do it again. So let me go here to mirror. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Mirror line is that. Say apply. Excellent. Very good. So now we have that figure, which looks decent. So now what can we do about this? Well, I can modify some of these dimensions because there we go. I think this might look a little bit better. No, that you see, I made that here 1.5, 0.5. There we go. Okay. And now, since we're here, I can draw another construction line. There we go. It's gonna go all the way from here to there. And we can do another mirror or well, select all that stuff. Now mirror line here, let's say apply. So now we have that piece right there. So what else do we have left to design? It's the play and the pause button. Okay, so for that, we're gonna do yet another construction line that's gonna come all the way there. And we're gonna draw two lines like that, and then we're gonna draw another line like this. So now with that apparatus in there, yes, there we go. I'm just drawing a very simple triangle. I'll click on these two lines, I'll make them equal. Then I'm gonna go here to rectangle. I'm gonna use center rectangle. I'm gonna go to that point right there, that point right there. And I say, okay, what do I want these distances to be? So I'll make first this and that equal. I'll make this and that equal. Oh, I think they already are. Maybe I'll make this distance be an 8. And maybe I'll make this distance overall be a 15. Same thing in here, 15. I want that triangle to be maybe 10 big, just like that, which means I want that distance to be 5. And that distance can then be, no, maybe 6. I think that's appropriate. So what else? Oh, my scene. And we can make the height of these be, I think 15 is all right. I don't think I've defined the height of these ones either. So we can also make it 7.5. No, so everything is symmetrical from now onwards. Good. So what do? We're gonna etch these downwards. So I'll go here to 3D model, extrude, downwards, and I'm gonna select the word menu. I'm gonna select that guy. I'm gonna select the triangle, this rectangle, that rectangle, this guy, and we're gonna go down by 0.5. Very tiny amount. Very good. But at least now you're starting to see the level of detail that we're putting into this thing. It's a good moment to save. So I'm gonna save this part in here. I have a folder. I'm gonna call this iPod. Yeah, iPod, maybe classic. There we go. Save. Good. We're still we're in a good shape, but we still have a couple of things to do. If we look at this from the side, you see how that is gray while that part is like white. We're gonna keep it simple on that front, but a way to achieve that is by actually, you see, our very first extrusion. I'm gonna go here to edit feature. Instead of making it 150, so if you look in here, the proportions are roughly 1 to 3. So 1 of that to 3 of those. So I'm gonna divide that by 4. And we have that. I know it looks kind of awkward right now, but you'll see what this is gonna do in a moment. I'm gonna go here to fillet. I'm actually gonna start rounding these guys up. If you go here, you'll notice that it's pretty round. So maybe a solid 50. And we're gonna, well, not that much, but maybe a 20 on that front. There we go. Okay, that's pretty solid. So now let's do the bottom part. So for the bottom part, I'm gonna go here to sketch, click on that face, and where it says, oh, actually I cannot offset yet. First, let me project all of that geometry. In essence, I'm just, this face you see there, I'm creating a sketch out of that. I'm gonna select all of that and make it a construction. That way it's not too difficult. But then if I go to offset, and I click on D to say how much I want that offset to be, and make that offset a diminute 2 millimeters. And why am I saying that? Because now we'll hit here the 3D model, sketch, and we're gonna bring that out by 100. So I'll say 3 times. See how you can literally do math in here. Very good. So now we go here to fillet. I'm gonna check that. I also give it 20 millimeters. So it's like a nice blocky thing. It's looking a lot more realistic. So we can start to give this a little bit of life. For instance, if I click on extrusion 1 and I say properties as body, let's see if I have white somewhere. Let's see. The white. Okay. See how everything that extrude is associated with is going to be white. So if not, I could do it by faces, but I think it's easier to do it this way. I can select. Yes, I think that's pretty much the case. So let me see if I find. I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, so I can go here to that. Maybe go to properties, and I can make all of these white. White, just like that. Okay. Good. Even though this cut right here, that is extrusion 4. So I'm gonna edit this pan properties, and I'll actually wanna make this one black. That way it's noticeable that you can see all of these details when you are looking at this from above. The same thing goes with the letters of the menu, which is like these guys are, I mean, that's that one. So let's go here to properties. Let's see if I find some form of gray. There we go. I think it actually looks kind of neat, to be honest. This thing. Okay, so we're not quite done because this fillet, I believe it's that one. Properties, we still have to make it white. So down here, white. Okay. There we go, sorry. Properties. Oh, but now we're gonna make it to my favorite part in just a second. Okay, good. What's that right there? Maybe for this particular face, I'll I'll just manually select that. I'll do control, 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 repeat finish. And I can say I want it to be white as well. Okay, good. But now what does that leave us with? Well, I'm gonna click on extrusion 7 and actually fillet 6. And properties, we can do some form of like polished. Let's see, what do we have here? Maybe some form of, let's see, no, steel polish. No, I want something like zinc. Let's see that. That's weird, the color. Let's try something else. Maybe aluminum. There we go. That's going to look much better. Now, one last thing. Actually, hold on. Maybe I can make it look even nicer than this. Oh, let's see, chrome. Yeah, I think we'll leave it as chrome. I think it's a little bit nicer. Then as for the screen, that's a greenish per se. So it is, yes, those, it's that and that. So here to properties. And I think I want is something like greenish. Maybe clear. Yeah, let me see if I find something better than that. So this is like the fun part, where you just change, you just try to make it look as nice as you want. No, we're looking at the wrong ones, thank you. Um, dark green, let's see. Looks more like a Game Boy than something else. But I think this is fine. So one thing that I want to add, as you can see from here, is the word iPod. That's actually very simple to do. You could free draw it, or a preview for what's going to happen next week. On the following session, you can actually sketch it out using a picture. And first, let me save. There we go. And one way to do that is if you go here to sketch, I click in here, and I go here to image, and I conveniently already download this. So I just find like any Apple logo, and I bring it right there. And you can like move it around. I can say I want it there. So the Apple seems to be literally in the middle. I'm gonna give it some dimension, say 100. If you really want it, yeah, I'm just gonna play around with it in there. Okay, that seems roughly center. Good. Now, if you one way to like really free draw this super nice, you go here to where it says line, and you go to where it says spline. Again, this is something that we're gonna see in a lot greater detail in session 2. But I like getting a little bit ahead of myself and explaining these things early. But it makes this thing look a lot prettier. If I click here in spline, I can say go, all right, I go to that point. And it's essentially going to start drawing a curve defined by the points that I place. Now, point of caution, in the interest of time, I'm not going to place so many points. However, you should place, because that's going to influence the quality of your curve. For instance, I'm going to say, all right, I want something like this. And a good strategy is that I like to change the curvature. You see like how that thing looks kind of weird. So I'm gonna select the curve. Oh, I can move points around. I can do some stuff. I don't like that curve, so I'm gonna do another one. Go here to spline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. I'm satisfied with that one. Okay. Let's do another one that's gonna go from here all the way down the apple. You could also do semicircles instead of splines. I think that wouldn't look bad at all. When you're good, you just click on the check. In essence, every time there's a sudden shift in curvature, that's when I either like to add a lot more points. That way, it's able to nicely interpolate the shape of literally the function. That's what you're doing in here. Or I just escape and I start a new spline. There we go. Now, this picture is black, so it's difficult to tell where the splines are. So we'll take a look at them in just a second. Oh my goodness, I think I didn't create that spline. So I have to try one more time, because I didn't select the check mark. I just click on escape. So I'm gonna try doing this one more time. Slowly. It's a nice therapeutical activity, as I like to say. You're trying, boom, all the way like that. Boom, boom. Very good, very good. Okay, final point, and okay. Excellent. So now it clearly shows. So maybe for this one, I can do the arch. So I'll do a 3-point arch. There's it goes all the way from here, all the way there. And then I'll do another one that goes all the way like that. Good. So we got that. Then I can go back to where are you here? Text here. I'm gonna go here to text. I can just click somewhere and I'll write iPod. Now I know the font type is Times New Roman, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yes, so we can make this a little bit bigger. So for example, 0.5. I'm just gonna move you around. Wait, did you update? Is that the appropriate size? Maybe a little bit bigger. Um, maybe 1.5. It's updating properly. I think no, it is actually okay. Maybe more. No, I think that's fine. But I made the apple kind of big. Okay, well, that's good. And we're gonna again etch that inward. So I'll go here to extrude, and I select well all the faces that I want to extrude. And we're gonna go down by 1 millimeter. And what we can do is that we can go here to extrusionate, edit feature. Actually, no, extrusionate properties, and we can make this white. That would take a very clear contrast. Right, right there. Yes, I think that looks kind of decent, but we're not quite done. Let's do another apple in here, just because I think it's gonna be fun, right? Because I think I've seen it once exactly like that. So actually, one thing that we could do is then go to the sketch. Again, let me go here to edit sketch. I'm gonna do Control C. Then I'm gonna click on finish. Then I'm gonna go here to start the sketch all the way here. I'm gonna do Control V. There we go. And now I can just, oh, I'm gonna try to drag this here. Okay, that actually looks kind of centered. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna extrude downwards. There we go. Okay. And extrusion properties. Oh, why draw it twice when you already drew it? You can just copy paste. And I liked it that it copy paste and it kept the symmetry, right? We didn't have to do like a mirroring. So, oh, I think it was gray G. There we go. Good. That was like nice and clear. This is an iPod. Okay, it's kind of nice. Now, the last part that we would need to do is, well, that circle right there. So that's for the power plug. Um, so let me see if I have a better picture that looks at it from above. I was looking at this one right here. So it seems that this is where maybe perhaps a little more of the creative freedom comes into play. And go here, the little line, construction line, is gonna come like that. We are gonna, oh, well, I actually want to make a full rectangle. It's gonna come like this. We're gonna say, well, that to be 400. Maybe no, maybe 350, like that. Good. 80, that sounds good. Are you fully defined? Yes, it seems like. And we are gonna extrude this upwards, yes, we're gonna extrude it upwards up to that face. So now you see how that's wide too. And now what we can do is go here to fillet. And we can make that be 50. Because I think it kind of looks like that. It's difficult to tell from the top, but it has a little bit of a... Yeah, so we can do at least that one in the middle and then do two plugs. How about that? Maybe let's make that edit feature. Let's make that smaller. There we go. So do a sketch. And for this, we do a construction line that goes... Yeah, that's fine. Let's go from that point to that point. And then from this point, let's click there, let's click there, let's make that coincident. And now I can do a little circle. There it goes. Oh, there we are. Let's see. Okay. I think I roughly know how this is gonna go. So we can make that circle be maybe like 60. Then that one can be 40. That can be 30. Yeah, that's good. We are gonna extrude this one and that one downwards by 40. And we can do a little fillet in here. That's gonna be maybe 5 big. Oh, now that I realize it, go here to edit sketch. Maybe I'm gonna delete that line. I'm gonna make these two coincident. Um, there we go. Maybe make these two lines equal. There we go. I think that's gonna look a little bit better. Right, so now I just shifted it to be kind of symmetrical with where we were. And then I can go here and make two little fillets. They're gonna be like one each. And go here and just change that color to be black. What? Black, there we go. Oh, let me two. Or I can just click there. Properties, body, black. I'll leave it like that. Okay. Yeah, and then maybe let's add the other two buttons, cause why not, right? So let's go here to sketch in here. So that one has the shape of a trapezium. So let's see how we're gonna do that. We go like that, like a, like that. Let's say we want that to be 15. 15 as well. 15. Oh, let me just lift the sketch. Let me just come back here because I believe I clicked on enter. Let's do 80. Maybe what I could do is let's do that 70 first. Let's make that seems all right. Let's make these two lines equal like that. That one and that one equal too. And that, oh, I see. Let me see if I can delete constraints. Let's make that a 30. I do want these two to be equal. There we go. Very good. Okay. And the distance between here and here is gonna be, the distance between here and here is that one. That's too little, man. Maybe 40. There we go. Okay. I like that in there, and then we're gonna chamfer that, and then we just have, all right, so let's your extrude downwards. With a little, we just change that edit feature. Good. I'm just looking at this to see whether it looks anything. I mean, it looks kind of decent, I would say. I'm satisfied. How about that? Right now I'm gonna do one last line that goes like that, and a rectangle. I'm just gonna go here. Oh, I want to make it a regular rectangle. There we go. Maybe 50. Actually, I would say 65. And this length seems appropriate with 100. And however, this one I'm gonna just bring it down by a tiny amount. So downwards by 5. Because I'm gonna fillet this from here. There we go, by 5. Is that 5 enough? I think so. Then I'm gonna fillet this from the top by 2. That way it's like consistent with what we've been doing. And then, last but not least, we're gonna do another sketch in here. We're gonna do construction line. It's gonna go all the way up to there. And we're gonna do just a rectangle that's gonna go like this. I want distance between that and that to be 2, and between that and that to be also 2. And maybe we're gonna make that 75. And we are gonna extrude that by 10. Because what we can do is now extrude those corners. I might end up doing this by 15, but I think it's gonna look a little bit more noticeable. by 5 and by 2. Yes, it kind of looks all right. Yes. However, I do want all of these guys to be white, starting with that shall do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties. Let's go down to white. Okay, good. Maybe that face in here, I'll make it gray. Mm, 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 G. Yeah, so there you go. A pretty simple iPod Classic model. I mean, it looks kind of similar to the actual one, I would say. Obviously, we're not doing the earplugs, even though that could be a later project. But it is a good start to, as a nice introduction to Inventor today. And we're going to continue in just a second now by doing the power adapter. So stay tuned for that. Alrighty, so now we've done the iPod Classic, so we have to do something else, which is the iPod adapter, the power adapter to be precise. And just like last time, let's start before doing anything just by looking at some pictures. So I have some of them pulled up right here. So this is what we're gonna do. I know it looks at simple glance like a simple object, but it's not quite very simple because we have to, make the overall shape and all of these little lines that you see there. We're gonna cut every single design, even though this is technically an assembly of two parts. Like that one technically inserts itself into the power adapter. We'll design it as a single part because I think it's easier for learning purposes, pedagogical purposes right now. But we're gonna try to make this as realistic as possible. We're not gonna add that text, but definitely we'll have the apple and all of those lines around there. So let's go and get started with this design right here. So, Inventor, new part, and I'll go here to sketch. We'll select the XY plane. And how do we go about the design process of a thing like this? Well, you look at a picture, it looks like a rectangle, we give it some volume, we make the edges round, and we call it a day. So we probably want to start by doing something like that. And then we're going to add some of these little details that we see right there. I want to see one thing. Oh, I just want to come back here. I want to see. Okay, so that's a mostly rectangular. Okay, good. So we're in the sketch. I'm gonna do a rectangle. So I'll go here, do the center rectangle. I chose the origin. By the way, what do I have to do? Well, I go here to tools, document settings, units, millimeters, please. At least I want to use millimeters and grams. Okay, then we'll go to letter D. And we're gonna make this let's say 300. Okay, and I can check this line, control that line, and in sketch, there we go, make these two equal. Very good. Very excellent. Okay, and now we go here to the volume, extrude, and we can give this a volume of what, 150. Is it? Do you think the aspect ratio? Maybe it's a little bit less. What about its sketch? No, actually, not edit sketch. Let me just move this. I'll click on finish sketch. Edit feature. Let's make this 125. Okay, again, we're making an approximate model. So now we can go over to fillet. Then we can round. Actually, I want to select this option in there, like that single edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll make that, let's say 50. What does that look like? Okay, I think that looks decent. And then, yeah, so that one it's supposed to be bigger than that radius, even though, let's see, and now I'm gonna select fillet. I can do this one, which is yes, just like that, but I want that to be maybe 20. Okay, yeah, so very easily You get to already something that looks at least like part of the adapter, right? Now the fun part comes into, say, adding that little detail that goes around. Like I want to add a line that goes all the way around this. So that's very simple to do. I go here to sketch, and I want to draw roughly a 2-point rectangle that goes from, you see how it's funny, but it allows me to select that edge like that. So that, if I look at the symmetry, yes, that's roughly, this side is supposed to be longer than that one. So I can say define that as 85. I can make that, I don't know, 25. I like multiples of 5, as you can tell. But these, actually, I can, at least these two, I'm gonna make them construction. I just want these ones to be fully defined. Then I go to our friend, the command offset. Sure, why not? I'll offset it like that. Actually, hold on, let me see. I don't want to select the loop. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, let me just probably. It doesn't let me. Anyways, I'll just do it with a single line. It's completely fine too. I just wanted to make a border that goes all the way like that. Boom. That way we have something that looks roughly like an L shaped. So I can click in this little guy right there and make that be maybe something like 1. That might be too small. Maybe 2. The same thing goes for this, for 2, and it's all fully defined. Great. So now 3D model, extrude. I'm gonna extrude inwards. So in other words, I'm gonna make a little cut that's gonna go maybe up to 1. I know it doesn't look like much, um, especially because it didn't do the cut in that phase, and you'll see that's gonna be a lot of fun. And I'm not gonna tell you yet how I'm gonna do that, but it's gonna be super simple, and we're gonna start to explore a little bit of symmetry. That way, our life is a little bit easier. Now I'm gonna do another sketch right here, and I'm gonna exploit our friend, the, remember this command that's called where are you, project geometry. I'm gonna project actually that little line. What does that do? Is that now that line is in space in this plane, which is our working plane. So I can draw, for instance, a line that goes all the way from here to, it doesn't matter because I can now click in this line, control that line, and make those two perpendicular, just like that. This one, by the way, is gonna be construction. Same thing here, extrude. There we go. Good. So I'm gonna make, actually, I might want that one to not to be solid, but then I'm gonna come back here, 3D model, extrude downwards by 1 as well. Good. So at least now that's marked there, that's marked there. So what remains to be done? You might be asking. Well, actually, I'm gonna first do it again in here. So sketch on that face, repeat the same project, project that little line. Good. So you see how that line is technically on that face. I'm gonna draw a rectangular that's gonna go like that. Another line is gonna go like this. Very good. And I'm gonna connect them and go here to 3D model, extrude 1 millimeter. Great. Here's where it gets fun. We are gonna do a sketch on that face. So that's our new working plane. There we go. And what we're gonna do is, well, multiple ways. I could go here to arch and draw an arch, or even easier than that, project. I'm gonna project that line. And I say, okay. So now we have literally the circumference drawn for us. If we go to offset that, why isn't it allowing me? loop select. There we go. I think uh, I had to do it as a loop. I'm gonna also like that, and then I go here to D, and I want the distance between those guys to be, hmm, I guess I have to make that be 19. There we go. And I'm gonna connect that with a 1. I'm gonna connect that with A1, just like that. So what can I do? Well, now that I have all of these lines, 3D model, extrude, I'm gonna select that face right there. We're gonna extrude by 1. Let me change the direction that we're gonna extrude. This will be 2 millimeters. So what does that look like? Voila. There we go. Let's do the exact same exercise right here. Sketch this face. Where are you? Yeah, sometimes I even get confused. But we're going to use again the project command, and there we go. So now you can start to see why project, which is something that's going to come up a lot more prevalently in the following session, in session 2. It's super duper useful. So that little circumference right there, now it's in our working plane right here. We go to our frame offset, boom. I'm going to go here to D. No, there we go. I could have selected those two. That's 1 millimeter. Line, I'm gonna connect them there. I'm gonna connect them here. And now we'll go here for the extrude opposite. Ah, yes, I have to select that area. Opposite. There we go. Okay. Oh, did it do anything? I believe it did not. A feature, right, because I'm not cutting. There we go. I think that should work. Mm. Oh, I think I should there we go. Uh, mm. There now, yes. I was not selecting all of the surfaces that I had to go in here. Very good. So now look, that looks pretty decent. So what we could do is, well, maybe for the sake of practice, I could try to replicate this. By the way, I want to check something here. I should have maybe done that round. That's something I can fix right now because I can be like, all right, what if that fillet in here was, let me do both at the same time. Mm, mm, mm. Actually, I think I'll fix that in a little bit, but I'll leave it for now like this. But what I want to really do is try to portray all of this stuff on the other side. And for that, I can mirror all of these things, even though I'd rather leave that for a future session. So I might just hardcore design this stuff again. I'm gonna leave that for session 3. That way I don't get too ahead of myself. So not another sketch on this face, but very easily what I'm gonna do is say, all right, I want you to project this line, that line, that line, that line. You know, they all appear here. Then I go here to the sketch. I'm gonna join them, and I'm gonna join them. 3D model, extrude, do a cut of 2. Good. And now we just repeat the same thing to the sketch, that face right here. We do an project this little guy right there. And we are gonna offset that by some amount. Letter D, 1 millimeter. Line, select both. Yes, that should be okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that I might need to change one of the dimensions right there because look, I'm gonna extrude this on the opposite direction like that. Okay, I think this is too deep. I'm gonna go back here, edit feature. It's supposed to be one. There we go. That's much better. And last but not least, this is the last thing that we're gonna do. So sketch. Very good. Right there. Where are you? Here. So project geometry this side. Okay. Now offset. This is good. Again, it's all a function of repetition because now at least you will have seen this 4 times, this procedure, but it's not trivial to add all of these different little details to make this look as realistic as possible. That goes in there. Oh, just gonna select that. Uh, Actually, I could just project geometry like. Hmm. Let me see what happens if I connect these two like that. And let me first connect them like this. And then I'll do good. Now I can do that I want. Excellent. For some reason, it was complaining before. All right, and then we're gonna extrude as always on the opposite direction. Mm, is it even allow me to? Oh, there we go. Hmm. Um, oh, I see. This is not a fully enclosed solid. I need to make those two. If I go back to our friend the sketch, these two are not fully connected. So I need to, there we go. That's why this is not working. Here we go. I'm gonna reverse that and I'll make that 2 as usual. Okay. See, now I have to go back here, edit that sketch and make that a 1. I was just doing that as a tryout. There we go. So now we got all of our details right there, which is all right. So it's starting to look like the actual thing. Um, that has to be round. How do you get that to be round? Well, one approach to do that is if I go here to sketch, and the way I want to do it is I'm going to do an arch. This is a 3-point arch where I click on a point, I click on a point, but I click on this line, control that line, and I want that to be tangent. So that's that constraint right there, that line and that line tangent. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Then I'm gonna do the exact same, actually, so I leave this like that. And I wanna figure out, right, how much of a radius do I wanna give this? Maybe 10. Yeah, that looks decent. Okay, so now I'm gonna complete this area right there, and I'm gonna extrude cut by 1. Good. Now we repeat the same process on this side, but now we're gonna make an arch that goes all the way like that. I want this and that to be tangent, that and that to be tangent, and this and that to be concentric. And so now it's like a nice uniform, because whenever we're doing with the fillet, it looked a little bit non-uniform. So we click on this point, that point, boom, we sketch, extrude, and I can say, what do you go for 1 millimeter, just like that. Excellent. Yeah, so maybe when I did that, these lines right there, I should have waited for that to be done before. So this is where I can employ a little trick. I can bring this guy upwards in time, I believe. Actually, it doesn't let me do that. Okay, that is not the end of the world because I'm just gonna do a sketch in here where I'll go do project geometry. So let me project that guy. At least I know that's the one that I want. So I'm gonna connect that and say, all right, extrude by one, excellent. And now another sketch where what I'm gonna project is that one instead. And now we do a bunch of lines where what we're doing is connecting this, the model extrude downwards like that. Excellent. So now, yes, okay, that looks, I mean, it's, at least these are the details that make it or break it, right? Make this look a little more realistic. What about making the apple? So we're gonna do the exact same thing as we did before. So, all right, so that part is there. Actually, one more detail that I want to add is related to the fact that there's a line that crosses all the way around this thing. We're gonna do that line. In fact, you see that the only time that line ends is in that circle, which is fine. I mean, we'll get to that point in a little bit, but let's do that. So I'm gonna go here to sketch. It's a very similar procedure, actually. Let me just take a look at this from the top. Yeah, good. So we are gonna do a line, but this is gonna be easier because we'll make it a construction line that will go like that. And now we'll make a little center rectangle. It's gonna go like this. Now oh, I want this to be a regular rectangle. Now we will make the width of this one just slightly smaller. Say I want, oh, let's say those two. Want that to be one actually. That which I uber precise, and we'll make this go inwards by 0.5. Good. We're gonna add that detail on this side and every side. We are doing a rigorous job with this design. There we go. Boom. A rectangle. Oh, right in the middle. Letter B. I'll make that one, and we'll extrude inwards. There we go. And then we'll do the same technique to just draw it on the side. Sketch, face, line, construction in the middle. There we go. Because the way, just as a little fun fact, right? This is really a cover of all of the electronics that go inside of the charger. And it's really two pieces that they probably injected molded for it to look that like that. And this is the area where they would intersect. So you could potentially take this design, split it into, make like a proper assembly, right, where you have like the two halves. That would look kind of pretty, to be honest. And now one last final sketch on this face. That's like the really the meaning of this design. Okay, we're gonna go all the way up here. We'll choose that point, control that line, coincident. There we go. Rectangle, that's gonna go like that. Now letter D. That's gonna be 1 millimeter. Good. And we're gonna cut it like that. Okay. So we got all of our sides. So now let's do the radii. So we only have to do three. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. So it's plain in there. Where did I choose that one? Let's see. Actually, you can do all of them at the same time, which should make things a little bit easier. So I'm gonna convert project that guy. Project that one because it's all the same plane. Now that I realize it. Good. And now with our friend the offset, Well, you are gonna come all the way there, and we want the distance in here to be zero point 0.5. Same thing over here. Offset distance between the two is gonna be zero point 0.5. And same thing right here. Offset distance in here is gonna be zero point 0.5. And now we grab our lines, and ideally we are able to complete the sketch. We'll see whether this works in just a moment. At least, there we go. Oh, I think we're having the same issue, huh, as we were having before when we were doing. Let me see what happens if I go here to project entities and convert that line. Let's see. I see what's going on. That line, and I want them to be coincident. There we go. I think that might do the trick. Um, oh, what's, oh no, that's the axis. I was concerned for a second. Well, we are gonna, wait, did I do that line already? Let me go here to project geometry. Let me, uh, Control Z. Let me go here. Uh, convert. There we go. Mm, there we go. I hope this works. We'll see in just a second. Sometimes it's tedious when you're working with geometries like this one, right? Uh, yeah, sorry, I might need to. There we go. I think the trick so far is to go here to project and then click on that point, click on that line, and make it coincident. That seems to be the way that we are gonna go through this. Children here. Now project geometry one more time. Line, coincident, good. And oh, I just realized something critical is that, all right, that plane is correct. That plane is correct, but this one right here isn't. There's like a little offset. So we need to see what's going on. So I'm gonna click on finish. And all right, which one were you? Extrusion. All right, let me go here to edit sketch. Interestingly, the constraints. We know the height of this thing is 85. Huh, that's 85. So the middle point that I was marking earlier was incorrect by a little bit. I see now. So what we're gonna do is say, all right, I want that right here to be 85 over 2. There we go. So that should hopefully fix things. There we go. So edit sketch on the one, oh my goodness, I don't even know what side is missing. Difficult to keep track. Actually, if I were to start doing, say, extrusions, does it allow me? So I can do that side. I can do that side. Can I do this one is the question. No. So this is the one that seems to be missing. Okay. No, I think that was fine. Let me see. We go here to sketch Project geometry there, and we're gonna click in here, make them coincident. All right, let's see whether you behave now. Very good. All right, so at least it lets me select that one, lets me select that one, it lets me select that one too. We're gonna do a cut. It's gonna be on the opposite direction, and it's gonna be a cut by one. Fantastic. Very good. It's a good point, for what? To save this these things. I'm gonna save this as the uh, iPod power adapter. Save. Good. Time to add the apple. So we go here to sketch, face. This is hopefully the easy part of this thing. If you guys remember, we go here to image, Apple logo, which we had from before. Um, that's obviously very big, so we make that 20. That's too small, so maybe 30. I like it like that. And let me place this. Uh, I like it there. And we go here to line, to the spline. And we'll do a nice little model of our apple, adding a nice amount of points. Okay. And now let's do this. But then when we do it on the other side, it's going to be a lot simpler. Why? Good. Now we do another spline. It's going to go all the way through the contour of this thing. As I always say, therapeutic sort of activity. And this is just the beginning of our journey using splines, because we'll be using splines extensively, especially on the following session where we start to use it to trace objects. That's literally all that we're going to learn in session two, is that we're going to do it super extensively, taking what we've learned today on session one and combining it to do super crazy things. Again, it's a surprise. We got that, and now we're gonna do a 3-point arch where we select that point, make it all the way like that, and another 3-point arch that's gonna go all the way like that. Good. So 3D model, extrude, then we're gonna extrude backwards by maybe 0.5. Excellent. And now due to symmetry, I can go, actually, let me go here to sketch, edit sketch, and control C. Now finish. What we do is go here to start sketch this face, control oh, command B, oh, control Z, command D. Actually, maybe I should do the command B here. I may need to return back to my original sketch. Let me do it one more time. Control C, good. Let me edit sketch, Control B. Okay, and bring this bad boy all the way roughly there. Good. And now extrude by 0.5. Excellent. We got a little Apple icon on both sides. Great. Save. Just for completeness, we know that on the back side we have, because the charger, like actually those little pins are the easiest part. We have like a circle of sorts that also is a molded and the USB plug. So let's do that. So this goes right here. So sketch. We'll draw a line, construction line. Do you see? We thought this was gonna be an easy thing to do, but it's so far taking us a good amount of time, I would say. We go first like that. I think this looks like an appropriate size. Maybe let's make this 28. No, actually more. How big is it really? Hmm, significantly bigger. Maybe 50. Okay, I think, yeah, it's fine. And then we can do another little offset. The That's gonna be 1. Now it's matching exactly that. So we extrude. What we're gonna extrude is I want to extrude all the way up to that face. Good. So now we have that. But now what I want to do is go here to sketch this. Oh, I want to do a sketch right here because I want to, and then maybe I'll make this visible. There we go. I want to do want to extrude just this circle all the way to this face. No, wait, all the way up to here. That way it looks fully enclosed. And now I'm gonna go back here and hide the visibility of that sketch. There we go. Hmm. Well, that is not exactly what I wanted to. I don't. Let me just edit that feature for a second. I didn't want to extrude. I just wanted to. There we go. I need to be solid like that. Excellent. But now what we can do is come back here and do the little rectangle. So a little construction line that's gonna go all the way. It's gonna bifurcate this thing. In fact, we're gonna click on that point and that circle will make that coincident like that. Hmm. Well, I'm gonna say no. I see. What if? Mm, Let me modify it. There we go. Let me make that 85 over 2. There we go. That way that line is fully centered. So we can do another center rectangle. That's gonna go like that. Oh, I want it to be solid. And then letter D, that's gonna be 20. That's gonna be 50. Yeah. And we are gonna extrude downwards by 50. And then maybe if you want to be like super fancy, we could chamfer these edges by, that is too much, by 0.5. That way it looks kind of pretty. And that's as much details I'm gonna put really on the USB side. But now it's time to do like the last step. So I don't think I need maybe like this picture. Yeah, whatever. Um, so let's say these details, the ones that are remaining. So the last part that we'll do goes like this. Actually, I might need to take a look at this from the top. Okay, okay. We need to do first 2 cuts. So I'm gonna come here, I'll do a sketch from the top, and I want to approximately draw a rectangle that's gonna go like that, another rectangle that's gonna go like that. I'll say, all right, I want the distance between here and here to be 10, and from here to here to be maybe 15. I think that looks a little bit better. 15, maybe 15. Maybe these two are also 15. I mean, that looks great. And we are gonna extrude. Mm, mm, mm. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't select. There we go. Maybe by, let's see, 100. I'll do a little bit more than 100 to be honest. And I think these guys have to be a little bit bigger than what they are. So I'll probably give them five more on each side. I'm gonna edit the feature. So it's just a lot of repetition and just iteration on. No, that's too much. That's too much. Edit feature. There we go. And now we are gonna edit sketch. I'm gonna make that be 10 actually. That's gonna be 20. Yeah, well, I think that looks a little more appropriate. And then this is gonna be all slightly rounded on. Just there we go. No, that's too much, obviously. There we go. There we go. Excellent. Just like that. Potentially even more, I would say, but I think this is okay. I mean, it looks kind of like the actual thing. I'm just trying to see whether I got the dimensions right. And then let's actually add like the two pins that come off from here. So for this, it's actually kind of simple. I'm gonna do a sketch on this face. And this is as simple as drawing a rectangle that's gonna start in there and it's gonna go all the way up to here. If we go look at a picture of this thing, because I don't really need to model that part if it's not really gonna be seen. But you see how the rectangle really goes all the way up to there. Okay, I see. I thought actually might have extended a bit more. No. So we're gonna go here with um, control up to that edge. We're gonna make that. Let's see. Coincident. No. I need to make them collinear. There we go. Good. I'm gonna make the distance between here and here be. I think what's the. Oh, I see. So maybe I'll make that be zero point 0.5, so like a very, very tiny amount. And I'm gonna actually extrude all the way up to the face, up to this face. So that, and I'll repeat the same procedure in a moment in there. But then the only thing I'll change is I'll go here to 3D model. Um, then go here to cut. And I'm gonna do two very little triangles. Two little rectangles are gonna go there, and I'm gonna go here. Right. And this will also be, oh my goodness, zero point 0.5. Because what we'll do is just give it a little, we're gonna extrude all the way up to that face. Oh, I didn't select the profiles. Let me select first these two profiles. There we go. And up to the face, up to here. That way it looks like the actual thing. Excellent. There we go. Okay. And then making the pins that will extend from this will be a walk in the park. But at least that's actually the height of that looks kind of nice, even though I don't think I really fully defined what it was gonna be. Edit sketch. I didn't give it height. So maybe I can do that explicitly right now. I'll make that 30, as a matter of fact. There we go. We can pretend that, yeah, like that, just that will collapse again into itself. Now we do the exact same thing. So we go here to sketch, sketch onto that face. Again, a lot of repetition, I know, but it's the key to doing these things properly. I can even show, uh, I can show that sketch. That way I can go here to, where are you? Project geometry. So I'm gonna project, say that line. I'm gonna project, say the bottom line. That's as much as I need. In fact, I can go back to that sketch and change the visibility. And we are gonna maybe finish it. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes, I think that should have worked. And there we go. Now we should be able to extrude that all the way up to that face. We can say here, excellent. And now we do the same procedure as we did before by drawing two little rectangles on this face. So rectangle number one will go right here. Rectangle number two will go right here. Letter D for that to be zero point 0.5. Letter D for that to be 0.5. 3D model, extrude up to face. Uh, yes, maybe select profiles first. Let me just try it one more time. Um, there we go. Excellent. Okay, tedious stuff, but I promise this is all worth it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is actually first save. I think this looks kind of neat, to be honest. Then the next thing, I'll just select all of this stuff. Actually, could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of these different commands that we've put in here. And I want to make this white. I'll change the properties. Properties. White. W, where are you? Excellent. And now that looks better. So that the last thing that we do is that's the only gray detail. Oh, we could add those little pins on the side too. I'll do that in a second as well. Um, Let me just go here to sketch here on the front. And now this is the easiest step, to be honest. Okay, that's good. We go like that. We draw the equivalent line on the other side. By the way, using symmetry, which we aren't today in purpose, right, to really master these commands, would make a lot of this stuff way easier. So we're gonna make that say 25. We're gonna make that be 3. And we're gonna make that control that guy equal. I'm gonna make that control that guy equal. Wait, did that work? I think so. So I can now extrude this face and that face by some amount that could be, say, actually, no, 110 is too much. Edit feature, say 70. This I know looks kind of weird so far, but it's gonna look a lot more natural in just a second. Once, see, maybe these guys could use a little bit more thickness. I'm gonna edit the sketch. Make that 4. There we go. And now we will fillet these a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Let's make that a 2. Maybe more, I would say. Uh, edit. Wait, where's that fillet? Feature. Let's make that 5. No. Maybe that's too thick. Edit. No. Second. Edit that sketch. I'll make that 23. Now, yes. And now, final touch. Line, construction line. They can go right here because we like the circle is like around there. Okay. So, inventor, circle. Oh, just a moment. I'm just gonna do a circle right here. 15 seems appropriate. 15 seems appropriate too. And 3D model, extrude through all. And finally, a little fillet. That's gonna be really 1. Excellent. And last but not least, we can select all of those, go to properties, and make this, yeah, let's make it chrome. That way it's nice and noticeable that it's gray, like that. Okay, this looks actually pretty decent as the charger. Maybe I could add those features. It's just that I leave it without them because there's a way that you could do this, which is pretty good, but it requires using planes, and I don't want to go yet into that level of detail on today's session. I leave that for session 3, where we'll learn how to use angled planes and how to put that stuff in there. Maybe for now I'll leave it like that, which I think is like a pretty decent level of design. So there you got it. That's your power adapter from 2001 or whenever this came out. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.